coming in.
Hey, Coach, we will get started with questions from Kent. Kent, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, you talked a lot as the team has started to play better about finding an identity and playing to it. I think a lot of people kind of assume you're talking about offense when you say that, but does it mean as much maybe on defense? I mean, you look at some of the stats and the rebounding stats and the field goal percentage stats. I mean, are you finding an identity on that end, maybe just as much as you are on the offensive end?
Yeah, for sure. You know, the identity, like you said, that's always been a part of our identity, the defense and the rebounding. And so I'm happy that, I think we're on stable ground. I don't know that we're, we don't have a defensive rating that's scaring anybody per se, but I think we're stable, which is a good place to be. I think we understand what we're trying to get done. Some nights matchups are better than others, but yeah, overall, that's always been a part of our identity. To making sure that at the end of the day, you got to have a positive net rating, and that's a good combination of offense and obviously coupled with your ability to defend and rebound.
On the offensive end, there are a lot of stats that show kind of where you've skewed of late. Your points in the paint during this winning streak is best in the league. Your field goal percentage quite high, efficient field goal percentage quite high. Is there a particular stat that you might identify that would exemplify playing to your strengths on the offensive end? Like maybe, the assists. I think you've been the best assist percentage team the last 4 games. And is there anything that kind of points to that in your mind? I mean, to show what kind of team you've become?
Yeah, I think that we've just gotten better really since the Dallas loss in Dallas. I think we've just done a much better job of being a little more precise, a little more intentional. I thought that we probably had a little too equal opportunity offense happening. Not because the players, were doing anything wrong, just that's how we were coaching. We were, there was a lot of side to side movement, driving, kicking, and we needed to be a little bit more intentional about the field goal attempts, who was getting them and when and how. And so we've just started to obviously play to our strengths. Sill and Fee in the paint are a handful, especially Fee as a small forward. And we've just been able to, to be able to get the ball there. And then teams are now choosing to double and play off of people. And I think that's the effective field goal percentage part, where we've got 3-point shooters that have the floor spaced. And I thought the last Phoenix game was an example of that. You have to make your choices on defense. And so when you're guarding the paint so hard, then it leaves you some stuff on the perimeter, and we've got some very capable shooters.
We'll go Don Mitchell and then Kareem. Don, go ahead.
Hi, Cheryl. How are you?
Good, Dawn.
My question is, when you release someone like Rachel, obviously, and then a week later sign her back, what do you look for in a player? I know they're all professionals, but for Rachel, it even has that hometown theme kind of woven in there.
Yeah, I mean, I look for Rachel to be herself. I look for Rachel. I mean, we certainly have communicated with our players. It was not an easy conversation by any stretch, but it was necessary. I think anybody that's following and understands, what our cap situation was and the reason for it with all the injuries. This is not what we set out to do when we started the season. There's a lot of things that we set out to do that we didn't get a chance to do because of this and, the injuries and the hardship, salaries that ate into the cap space that we did have. So, we talked to Rachel about that and, didn't feel very good, but it is actually one of the better outcomes that we could have, which was she only missed 2 games. Because when you waive a player, you have to wait 10 days for them to return. And in this particular case, because it was around the midseason cut down, you didn't have to wait the 10 days. So it actually, it could have been a lot worse. And so, we appreciate Rachel's understanding. I think our team handled it great, and we only went out there with 8 out to Phoenix. And, we held the fort down for Rachel, and then we knew when we got back, she would be here for us. And Rachel's a pro, like you said, and, get right back to it. And it was necessary, and we move on.
Kareem, go ahead.
Hey, Cheryl, how are you?
Good, Kareem. How you doing?
Good. Kind of a big overall league question for you. I just want to get your thoughts on the parity of this particular year. The standings between pretty much 3 and 11 are all bunched together, and I've heard a lot of different theories between injuries and just overall increasing in talent to the offseason moves. So I'm just curious, from your perspective, what do you think is either the cause or just your thoughts in general on the parity of the league this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think that all the things that you mentioned. Look at the teams, like a Dallas, who over the last few seasons have piled up a bunch of first round picks, some really good players. It's been a young team. They've been knocking at the door. I think everybody would tell you that, you could see Dallas coming from a mile away. The amount of talent that they've been able to get through the draft. And now, someone like VJ, who just thrilled that she got a second chance to show that, actually having good players is really helpful to a coach. And so, she's done a great job with her opportunity, and there's great buy-in to what they're doing. And, really, if you look at every team, you mentioned the offseason moves. Yeah. I mean, I think there's greater balance. I think right now, like you said, you have two teams at the top. But I don't think anybody picked Seattle to be one of those two teams at the top. When we were in the offseason, there was a lot of concern about the players that they lost. And but there's only 12 teams in the league, and there's just a lot of talent on each team. And I think a lot of the coaching in this league. So every night is hard. Every night is hard, and including if you're playing against Indiana, who hasn't found as many wins as some of the other teams. So it's just where the league is. I think it's a product of 25 years of the league, just 12 teams, and so it's packed. That it's packed with talent, and that's when you get the parity.
And just one more from me. I'm just curious, how are you kind of approaching the Olympic break? I know, if you need to be healthy, it's a good time to have a break. If you're rolling, it's not necessary. You almost would like to keep playing. Everybody's kind of approaching it in their own unique ways. I'm just curious your thoughts, and how do you approach it?
Well, I mean, you can't escape that it's a lot of time off. And we happen to have 4 players that are going to be playing during that time. And so you got two things. One, you're hoping for the best for the 4 players that are still playing, that they can, for example, the USA national team, Sil and Fee aren't going to have to carry the same load that they're carrying for the Minnesota Lynx. So enjoy that, enjoy that things will come a little easier for them because there's so many great players, but winning, is not as easy as it looks. But I think sharing the load is important for them so they can get a little bit of downtime, so to speak. And then the ones that are back here, you want to make sure it's not punishment for them that they're not Olympians, but there are some things that you can do and really take advantage of that time, that the ones that aren't there. And, in our case, we have, a couple of injuries that we're working through and hoping to get to the other side of when we get to August, that they'll be out there. So we have a lot to do. And some of that is rest, the mental rest, the physical rest. Go get a chance to be with, your family members that you often don't get to be around, except for, years like an Olympic year. So you try to do a combination of things. But at the end of the day, whether you were playing well or not, your job when you come out of the break is to make sure you're playing well. And so whether you had momentum or not, it doesn't matter. There's no such thing as losing momentum. If you're playing well and you're a good team, then you'll be that same thing when you get to the other side of the break.
That's perfect. I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
We'll go 2 more. We'll go Danny and then Yao. Danny, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. I was wondering if you could talk a bit about Natasha Mack. I saw that the team announced this morning that they signed Natasha to a 7-day contract. I was wondering just what role do you see Natasha playing for this team, and what will it mean down this pre-Olympic stretch to have another body in the post?
Yeah. And so Natasha is actually it's called a 7-day contract because that's what, past the midseason date, that's what a replacement hardship contract converts to. So it's 7-day for that reason. But essentially, until we can return a 10th healthy player, Natasha will be with us. And, we just looked at it and we said, because you have a choice of whether you choose to go with the extra player. In our case, because we were no longer impacted salary cap wise, because we don't have any money, this is essentially money over the cap, so to speak. So the money was spent. I think we had $140 left. And that's not a joke. So I think the gift card's coming for the remainder 140. But with Natasha Mack, you're just going to try to look at her and see what she's about. It was a very productive, Natasha was a very productive player in college, particularly on the defensive side of it. And so this is kind of a free opportunity, to help our team as we navigate these injuries. And then also, what's Natasha Mack about? And, it's going to be mostly through practice time. Today was her first day. And as you would expect, coming into a team midseason, not exactly easy. I wasn't exactly somebody that waited for her to figure things out. We just kind of kept going, and Natasha's, by the time she was done, her head was spinning. And that's what we expected. But she also got, a number of deflections and block shots, and that's exactly what James told me that she would do.
We'll go last question to Yao. Yao, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, I hope all is well. Bouncing off the earlier Olympic question, it's been a tough year of reflection and sacrifice, and the Olympics were postponed, obviously. And I know this is not your first rodeo, but what does it mean for you to once again be going and representing the red, white, and blue as a coach?
Well, it's very exciting, and it's, I know it's a little bit cliche, say what a great honor it is, but that's exactly what it is. And it's challenging in terms of, you're in the midst of a season and you're coaching, and then all of a sudden you stop and you have to, I got to drop my Lynx gear and then put my USAB gear on and go be an assistant coach and try to win, another gold medal, the 7th consecutive gold medal. It's hard work. I think people think somehow that it's easy because we have a lot of great players, but it's not. There's a lot. It's pressure filled, but it's a thrill. I know my first Olympics, I didn't quite understand the magnitude of what it would feel like being there. But you're surrounded by, so many people that made so many sacrifices to be so great at what they do, the amount of training, the amount of sacrifice with your families and your support system to be great. And so, to be surrounded by all that is just an incredible feeling.
And you are fortunate to have 2 players that are going to be coaching overseas. So, on one side, you're coaching them, try to win a gold medal, but on the other side, you're hoping they remain healthy for the remainder of the WNBA season, right? So tell me, can you just reflect on their 2 journeys and how hard they have worked to reach this point to potentially win a gold medal?
Yeah. I'm really happy for Sil, because I don't think Sil's ever been somebody that takes for granted that somehow that she has a position on the team. She had to work for it. She worked very hard in the non-Olympic year and was a part of many of the training camps, and put a lot into physically. In the college tour that we went through, and the AmeriCup. So she just did so much, and to put herself in this position. And I know she's thrilled. Again, you never take that for granted. And then you have someone like Fee who, is going for the first time, just giddy. This is something she's always dreamed about. And I told her, I said, I knew at some point she'd be an Olympian. I just didn't know when, if her time would be now or the next cycle. But she earned the opportunity to be now by the work that she did in her first 2 years as a pro. And then also her work that preceded her from the USAB, the number of teams that she played on. So I'm excited for Fee, and I just want her to look around and see all the Olympians, and they're Olympians because they do things a certain way. And so make sure that she's looking and watching and absorbing and learning. And then when her number is called, to do what she needs to do, make sure she's ready. And Sil will be a big part of making sure that Fee is locked in and kind of showing her the way. So we're excited about it. No question about it. To represent the Minnesota Lynx, the 3 of us, it's something that we have a great sense of pride about.
And just my last question here, sorry for taking up all the time. You mentioned learning things, right? You're a WNBA champion. Sometimes people make the assumption that you have no more to learn, but you being as an assistant coach, what more can you learn in this game through, the Olympic experience?
That's a great question. And that's what this is about for me. I go over there looking for ideas. We scout very heavily as assistant coaches. And so I get to see a lot of different countries and see things done in a different way. It's a different style of basketball in a lot of cases. And so you pick up things. I might see something that I take away and go, hey, this will be really good for our team. So my eyes are going to be wide open. Obviously my ears and listening. And but ultimately I'll get great joy from supporting Dawn Staley in any way possible to make sure that we complete the mission that we're on. Which is to get another gold medal. And that's, like I said, that's not going to come easy. It's a great deal of work. And, I look forward to, again, just being able to do whatever we possibly can every day.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
You're welcome.
we'll go last question to Jace. Jace, go ahead.
Hey, Cheryl, what's it been like for you this last month or so, doing all of these roster and salary cap gymnastics, making sure, okay, we have the right contract here, like with Leja, and getting to where we want to be with her contract at the end, and obviously Rachel and the hardship waivers, adding people and whatnot. What has that been like, managing all of that?
Yeah, it's just not what you want to be doing. When you have the dual role, you really prefer that when it's the season that you're spending most of your time coaching and not having to split your time, because we've had to work through a lot to get to the landing place we got to. There was a lot of planning that was going into that very, very frequently, as things were being thrown at us injury wise, and and then the nuances of the CBA and how we had to do things, and hardship players and releasing them and re-signing them. And but you get through it all with your players just through communication. At no point in time was Leja unsure about their status on our team. It was just things that we had to go through. And I think if you handle it the right way, you can navigate it. I know, unfortunately, for maybe externally, people couldn't have as much information as we had on the inside. And so, they kind of had a little bit of a roller coaster ride, I think, with what we were doing. Lay would play great and then learn that they got released after the game, so, people were mad at the GM when that was happening. But yeah, it was just one of those things. You just don't want to be doing that, but it is what it is. And you got to handle it and navigate the best you can. And I like where the team has landed at this point. And, if we're fortunate enough to stay healthy, then okay. If not, we're pretty experienced in how to go about it.
Great. Thank you, Coach.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Have a good rest of your day.
All right, everybody. I have Rachel in with me.
Hey, Rach, we'll get started with questions from Kent. Kent, go ahead.
Hey, Rachel, like Coach was saying, you kind of knew how this was going to wind up and that you'd be back, but still you were away from the team for a while. How did you handle that? Kind of keep your head up and get through it?
It was tough the first couple of days. I'm not gonna lie. I felt pretty anxious about the situation, but I stayed in close contact with the team and with the coaches, and I went home for a couple of days up north, got on the lake a little bit. So that was a nice little kind of reset, refresh, and then came back to the cities, got my mind right, and I knew, I was gonna be back in the gym here soon. So I stayed up with my cardio, so I'd be ready.
It kind of had to be weird though, watching the team on TV in Phoenix, huh?
Yeah, it felt really weird. It was gross. Because I wanted to be there. I had major FOMO. I was telling the girls, I was like, I miss you guys. I wish I was there. But it was super weird watching. But it's also sometimes kind of good to watch. It's like watching film, kind of seeing things that we can get better at and all that. So.
Felt good though to be back at it today, I would imagine.
It was great. Back to normal.
Jace, go ahead.
Thank you.
Rachel, how'd you deal with the uncertainty? Because it's not like a guarantee that you're going to get through waivers or anything like that either. So what was that like those couple of days where you probably didn't know exactly what was going to happen?
Yeah, those first couple of days, like I said earlier, were rough. I was super anxious. Like I said, it was just a weird feeling. I didn't like it. Right after practice on Monday, I went straight home to my parents' house. I was like, let me just get out of the cities. Deleted my social media. I just needed a reset. I just had to kind of get away and just get my mind right and understand the circumstance and understand, that things are going to get better out of this. It's not the end of the world. But I definitely had to just kind of get away and just relax. Because it was really hard those first couple of days. But then once it hit 4:00, we were all excited. So it was good. But let me tell you, those 48 hours were tough.
What was Cheryl's communication like throughout that process and kind of explaining the why and how and everything?
She just communicated with me on Sunday, the day before. We talked it through, talked through the scenarios, talked to my agent. We did all the communication piece, which is really good. That's one of my favorite things about Cheryl is just that we're able to communicate really well together. So yeah, that was really good. And then when they're on the road, I continue to communicate with the team, pretty much like normal and all that stuff. So that really helped too, to still feel connected and feel like I was still part of the team a little bit without actually being on the team. So the communication piece was really good.
And then in retrospect, those couple days, being able to go up north in the summer, you never get to do that. Was there any part of that was okay, I guess that little piece that was nice? Yeah,
I try to think of that no, not a lot of people get this break in the summer. I didn't want the break. Let me tell you, I'm gonna be honest with you. I did not want the break. I didn't need the break.
Right.
I'm fresh. I'm ready to go. I'm trying to play basketball. I prepare all off season for this. But on the other side of things, like it's a blessing. I got to go up north, see my family that I don't get to see super often. You think I would, but I actually don't get to see them a whole lot. So it was good, but let me tell you, I did not want the break. I'm just gonna be honest, I didn't want it, but it is a blessing at the same time.
Thanks, Rachel.
We'll go Dawn and then Danny. Dawn, go ahead.
Rachel, I mean, you already know the business side, it's not like this is foreign to you, but you really don't have to really juggle it in the middle of a season. Is it also because it's the public nature that people know what's going on? So regardless of all the communication that Cheryl had, you still have this, like you can't separate your heart from it, right?
Yeah, that is the hard piece. It's like I understand the situation. We all understand the situation, but it's still just really hard. I mean, I don't know, unless you're in it, you don't really know. It was hard. You guys all know this is a team I've always wanted to play for, and a team I always want to be with and be around and represent. So it felt weird. It just felt wrong. I was really sad, but I also was staying positive, knowing that I was going to hopefully get back as long as everything went as planned. But like you said, like it's hard. It still wears on you. It still makes you sad. It wasn't easy. But I have the right people in my corner. I got the right people on my side. So that helped me get through. And it was, it was only a week, but it felt like forever. So I'm glad that we're done with that.
And also now, I mean, you trust Cheryl, right? So now you knew it was going to happen, but it's not a trust in her. It's just you just don't want to go through that right now.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I knew the plan. I knew the situation. We communicated everything. I trusted the process. I trusted Cheryl. That part wasn't hard. It wasn't hard. It was just feeling like I wasn't on the team anymore, and even though I knew it was going to be okay, it just felt weird. And I don't like that feeling. I know I always want to be on this team and be able to play basketball. So that part was hard.
Well, I'm glad you're back.
Thank you.
Danny, go ahead.
Hey, Rachel. I was wondering, now that you are back, what did you see when you were watching the team in Phoenix, and how do you think you can slot in and help out down the stretch with these next 3 games?
I mean, I just think we followed the game plan really well. We dominated inside. We played super well together, as you saw. Like, we shared the ball. Defensively, I thought we were solid. We were taking them out of things. We were making stuff easy. We're making them take tough shots. Of course, we were shooting well, but we were playing super efficient. And that's something that we've been working on in practice, and playing inside out, getting the ball on the sill, getting into Fee, Dee, whoever, playing inside out. I just thought we executed that really well. I like playing that kind of basketball, so it's gonna, we've been working on that for a while. So I think I can just dive right into that. We worked on that today as well. So kind of same business as always.
All right, we'll go last question to Yao. Yao, go ahead.
Hey, I hope all is well. You have 2 Olympians as teammates now. We've gone through the whole thing about you being released and signed back, but what do you think you could pick up from, those 2 teammates specifically that you could carry with your game beyond the Olympic break, but into, after the Olympics, finishing off the season?
You're saying like pick up from them, like little things that they do?
Yes, any form of inspiration, anything from their game that you could bring to yours. I know you could probably say that for all your teammates, but for those 2 in particular.
Yeah, I mean, Sil and Fee, I mean, obviously they're just incredible. They're incredibly talented, but the way that they can play and sustain that over an extension of the game, they're able to play 35, 40 minutes while continuing to play at that pace and that hard throughout. I think that for me and for, the rest of the team, like we want to be able to do that same thing, be able to sustain that kind of efficiency, play on defense and offense throughout the entire game. That's hard to do. That's really hard to play that many minutes and be that efficient and that effective. So, I think that's something that I can continue to work on is, if the longer I get minutes, if I get minutes, whatever it may be, is sustaining that throughout. So that's something I can work on in the off season as well.
Thank you very much.
Great. Thanks, Rach. We hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Rachel.
Thanks, Rachel.